Okay, now these have set overnight. I'm taking them down off their hanging trees. And you'll notice there's drips all over the place. The reason for that is that normally your model will be, well, something like a 3D object. I mean, if I was making a mold of this, I would have clay built up around to make a base, and then it wouldn't, the rubber then wouldn't run outside of that boundary I built. And but I insisted that the rubber do something it was never designed for. And that was to make something like a glove over my entire model. Now my next step is to trim this, and then I will begin to make the mother mold out of plastic. And to do the trimming will take close work for me. I have to be very, very careful while I'm doing this. And I will, when I get down to cutting the mold off of the piece, I'll be using my X-Acto blade with a brand new blade in it, because it needs to be very, very sharp. I also have, these are my handy dandy little needlework scissors. These things are tiny. You can pick these up any place that sells fabrics and embroidery thread and whatnot. The reason I like these is because these are sharp. These are sharper than like your cuticle scissors. These things are nothing compared to my little needlework scissors. So I'm going to turn off the video for now, and I'm going to do my trimming. I need to get rid of this. And as I go, I need to make sure that I don't actually make undercuts for my mother mold, because I don't want any pulling. I want this to come apart very, very easily after I get the mother mold done. The reason being, those tiny fingers that I was telling you about could break off so easy, and the tips of those ears. And so I'm going to say goodbye to you for now and trim this up and start getting it ready then for the mother mold. Okay, as you can see, I've got it all trimmed off, and I'm starting to put clay around to make my seam, because my mother mold is going to have her front and back. So this is going to pretend that it's the back side of my mother mold, actually, is what's going on. You cannot use clay that has sulfur in it anywhere near silicone. It will not set up. It'll turn to goo forever, never, never. And you can pick up sulfur-free modeling clay at any art supply. That's where I found these, was our local biggest art supply. And it usually has a sign right up in front of it to tell you which one is sulfur-free, because it is used in specialized applications, and it's often called for. So I'm going to continue making my background here and my build-up, and then we'll be back. Okay, I have to keep coming and going on the video because this is going to be so time consuming. It wouldn't make sense to try to tape the whole thing. But I'm having to be very, very, very careful, because my silicone didn't make my model rigid. It's very, very flexible. And so I've got to be very, very careful that I don't break anything as I go. And that is very difficult to keep up with that while I'm doing this other. So I'm praying we come out safely here. I hope I'm not too close with the camera and that you can see this clearly, but I'm just simply taking pieces and going up between my narrow areas here. And once I have the mother mold on there, I'm not going to be worried too much that it's not touching in between the legs, but I do want to cup around the leg just enough that I know that the sides are being held as well as the front and back, so that it won't be any sagging when I go to pour it. If you can see. And I'm not worried about the top, because that's where I'm going to provide a pour hole. At the very top of the mold, I'm going to cut a little circle, and so I'm going to avoid that whole area while I'm making my mold into my mother mold, so that when I'm all done, I'll be able to use that as my pour hole. Not pretty, but it'll be functional.